So apparently in the next month or maybe next few weeks or so, we're supposed to be hearing an update on what's going on in Scream 7. And at this point, it's either going to be a reboot or a legacy movie, right? With the four original-ish coming back. That means, Mark, Kirby, Sidney, Gale. And it's going to be hard if they do either one. Ever since, Spyglass really did mess up Scream 7, it's going to be hard. But however, here are the pros and cons of both things. If they go with reboot or legacy, I'm going to be okay with, whatever they go with, as long as it's a really good story. Now, if you start with the reboot, if they do a reboot, a lot of people, there's going to be a lot of hate. A lot of people are not going to accept it because it's like, wow, you fired Melissa, you couldn't get the core four back, and it seems, if they do a reboot, they were pretty much seen that they refused to pay Nev, right? So that would also be bad. But I understand why they would do a reboot, because then if you do a reboot, you can spawn a lot of sequels with that. Now the problem is, the Scream cast, in all the Scream movies, there's always been like a lot of, star power in those movies. So if they do like a reboot, they would have to have some pretty, A or B list actors and actresses to do that. And like the whole motive would have to be completely different from the previous, 6 movies or whatever, right? Now, here's probably one of the things people will be worried about. A reboot doesn't mean you got to change the mask and all that. Maybe tweak it just a little bit. A little bit, obviously keep the mask, but have the robe maybe, I don't know, be more shorter or maybe a little more tactical, just a little bit. But then, just keep it at that. So a reboot, I understand why. Even though Spyglass has messed up, they are definitely aware that, they have the IP to this franchise. They know it makes a lot of money. Ghostface is one of the, most famous horror icons. One probably, I mean, in my opinion, I would say Ghostface is just as popular as Michael Myers, maybe just by a little bit, or maybe they're both, neck and neck in a way. So that would be the pros and cons, right? You can spawn more sequels, new faces, new motives, and all that. Problem is, there's going to be a lot of hate for that. People are like, oh, I'm not seeing this and all that. But if I'm being honest, I'm just going to throw my personal opinion in here. I feel like each Scream movie should have been a whole new story, right? So you had the Sidney story in 1 and 2. Well, let's say this. You had the Sidney story 1, 2, and 3. In Scream 4, I feel like Kirby should have been the main character. And then Sidney kind of guides her in a way, right? But obviously Sidney would get less screen time. Then Scream 5, you can still have the Carpenter sisters in the core 4 there, and, have any of the surviving members from the last movie try to guide the new characters. And, just have it go on from there. I feel like the fact that they stuck with the same main characters, I feel like that kind of hurts their franchise. Just a little bit when it comes to telling a new story and a new motive for the Ghostface Killer. Now, for a legacy, you bring back Kirby, Mark, Sidney, Gale. One of the, obviously, fans are going to be happy. They pay Nev what she's owed, what she deserves. And, you got the originals coming back. The problem is, it would be a lot harder to come up with a motive for a legacy movie. You got to think about it, right? Why on earth would this Ghostface want to attack Sidney now? Why would they wait a whole 2 years, right? From Scream 5, 6 to then 7. Why wait a whole 2 years to try to, get... And it has to be a smart motive. Now, obviously, in my last video, I did say that this is a Ghostface that feels like if they kill Sidney and kill the original, then the killings will stop, right? Which that would be a pretty good motive because obviously they're evil, but they feel like, the Ghostface would be like, oh, I'm not evil, I'm just trying to end it all. That way nobody suffers or whatever. This is like, I don't want a long lost cousin, brother, a son or daughter we never heard about. We don't need any of that. So, like it or not, it would be a lot harder to come up with a motive for that. you know that's why go after Kirby, why go after Gale or Sydney, because we don't want a repeat of the previous 6 movies. Just like I mentioned this a little bit in my last video, I don't want them to be so desperate that they feel like, okay, if we're doing a legacy movie, let's bring back Stu Macher to end it all. I really don't want that, because even as meta as Scream gets, I feel like bringing Stu Macher, bringing Matthew back, even that would be kind of pushing it a little bit, I would say. So I definitely don't want that. Definitely don't want that. So you see, there's good and bad with both. I would like to meet in the middle where it's like, okay, it's like a soft reboot where it's new characters, new faces, new motives, but it's still set in the timeline. It's still in the same universe as Scream 1 to 6, and have very vague mentions of Sydney and the Carpenter sisters and all that. Because with the way this Ghostface and Scream thing works, they could easily expand this to a self Scream story based game. Kind of like in a Telltale kind of way. They could really expand this to like a comic series, because you got to think about it. Unlike Michael, Jason, Freddy, and Chucky, and that's no diss to them, anyone can be Ghostface. And what's interesting is that you don't know the motive behind these kills and everything, so it's like a reboot is probably needed. It'll be hard to get there, but a reboot is what is needed. You gotta remember, Scream shouldn't revolve around Woodsboro and then to like New York. You gotta remember that anyone around the world could be Ghostface for either a smart, stupid, or crazy reason. So obviously, they're owned by Spyglass, and I think we can all agree Spyglass doesn't know what the hell they're doing. But then again, they realize if they put some money on it, they could really expand the universe, right? And if they're going for a full, reboot, have that, have a reboot and have maybe like a short comic kind of, explaining, some plot holes, here and there. That would be dope, but I would hope they would meet in the middle and just do a reboot that still takes place in the, same universe. Now, from what it seems like, we are going to get, Nev back, right? I don't think they're going to let that one go, because at this point, they've messed up so bad. If they lose Nev again, then this is going to be like, I don't like, you lost her again right after you lost, Melissa again. So, and it's like I said, right? If they get Melissa back, they probably get the whole cast back for 6. That's not the case as of now, right? And I did hear that, Nev is probably like trying to use her star power, her status, to get Melissa back as well. I'm telling you guys right now, as much power as Nev has in her name, that's not going to happen. They've already not paid her much, so if she's to Spyglass, that will be like, okay, well now Nev is just asking for it. We're not, matter of fact, we're just gonna shut this whole thing down. I did see in that one picture from Funhouse? Is that what it's called? That is supposed to Scream 7 supposed to release in 2025. That sounds about appropriate. Now, I have no problem with that, but what's it gonna take to get there? There's going to be hundreds of stuff we're gonna hear about before we get to 2025 about Scream 7. And honestly, it's not looking good. We're either gonna get a reboot or a legacy, but regardless of what we get, it ain't looking good, at least in my opinion. So you guys comment down, what do you guys think they should do, a reboot or a legacy movie? And whatever you choose, What will be the motive for this killer? Comment down what you guys think.